Dr. Bruce Mann, a quick introduction, if we can ask for that. You're with Oceanographic Research Institute.
Correct.
Tell us
your
position there and what you do.
I'm a senior scientist with the Oceanographic Research Institute, which is part of the South African Association for Marine Biological Research. And I've been here since before the Rinderpest. So I started in 1992, and my focus is lionfish management and looking at the effectiveness of marine protected areas, particularly in their use in protecting fish.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. And cutting to the chase regarding Bateleurs and aviation.
Yep.
Clearly in your occupation and in that career path, you've had need for the aerial perspective or for aerial support.
Yep.
Where did that first emerge, and how did you learn about the Bateleurs?
So in the sort of work that I do, one of the aspects is trying to understand fishing effort and working out how many people there are utilizing our fish resources along the coast. And so the idea was to actually get into the sky and count fishermen from the air. So this started way back in the mid-1990s, and the first survey I did was with Paul Bushell in an old Piper Tripacer, a 1956 canvas aeroplane, beautiful aircraft. And we started those surveys, and then we redid them 10 years later in the mid-2000s, and this time using the Bateleurs, who I had the fortune to meet up with and use the pilots and the aircraft. And then we did it again in 2018, where we flew the whole KZN coast and counted anglers from the air.
That's very interesting, counting anglers from the air. Without delving too deeply into the whole research project, which
Yep.
I'm sure is a documentary of its own,
Yep.
What part of the fishing effort or the counting anglers required the aviation?
So because we've got such a long coastline, 560 kilometers in the case of the Natal coast, it's too far to try and assess it by foot or by vehicle, because you'd never get to the end of it in one day. Whereas in an aircraft, you can fly the whole coast in a matter of 3 hours. So it gave us an instantaneous spot count of how many fishermen there were on the beach at that time. And then you redo it at different times of day using a random stratified sampling method, and you can use those estimates to scale up and get an estimate of total number of fishermen throughout a year. So how much fishing effort is happening annually along the coast. So it's a brilliant way of doing it. It's cost effective, and it's the best way to do it along an extended coastline.
I believe you answered my next question right there. So I was going to ask you about the productivity of the aerial approach to your work.
Yeah.
But as you said, cost effectivity, covering the coastline in one flight, it ticks all the boxes for you.
Absolutely. And this information feeds into trying to work out what the total catch is. So once we know how many people are fishing there, we do surveys along the coast, interviewing fishermen and checking their catches and asking them how long they've been fishing for. And so we work out catch rate, and then we know how many anglers there are, how much time they spend fishing, what they're catching, and voila, we can estimate total catches and the different species that make up the catch. So shad, carantine, blacktail, stone bream, etc. We can work out total tonnage per annum, and it's phenomenal.
Fantastic. We'd love to hear sometime in another interview the results and possibly some graphs and what you've learned from your research.
Sure.
As a research scientist, is there anything aside of the direct work in which you were involved with that was observed during these flights? Was there anything else of auxiliary benefit while you were flying?
Well, I think, as you would know, the biggest benefit was the flying itself, which I absolutely loved, and I think it's my next passion of the fish is actually flying. But yes, we did a lot of other things. During the mid-2000 survey, we did a whale shark survey. So on the flight up, we counted anglers. On the way back, we counted whale sharks and turtles and that sort of thing. Last year, in 2018, we were basically eyes in the sky, because KZN Wildlife, the provincial conservation authority, has been moved off the coast. There's now a void in enforcement effort along the coast. So being up there, we were able to provide eyes in the sky and provide surveillance on what activities were actually happening. So we could see vehicles driving illegally on the beach very easily. We could see people camping. We could see people gill netting in estuaries and so on. And all that information we reported almost directly, either from the air on a cell phone, or when I landed, I shot an email off to the right person to say, look, this is happening in this place, get on it, kind of thing. So we had quite a lot of positive response from that kind of surveillance.
It's fantastic to learn that there were benefits in addition.
In addition
of what
to the
your
science that we
primary
were
work
doing.
was, yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now you touched there on your passion for aviation.
Yes.
Moving away from science for a second, and that
Yeah.
passion for aviation, there must be at least one standout moment that you recall from all this flying that you've done. Your flights must be nearing 100 in total flights.
Well, yes, I think 2018 was 44 flights alone in that year, and in the mid-2000s it was another 36 flights. So yeah,
so, okay,
we're getting up to the.
Tell us then about the standout moment.
The standout moment is really hard to pick because there were so many. But thinking about it, one of the absolute highlights for me was flying back with Brett Hill in the Foxbat, flying low level. And when I say low level, we had to look up at the beach cottages on the because we were kind of flying really low and along the Transkei coast, and just absolutely magnificent. It was really thrilling and really exciting and a beautiful spot to be. I think flying the sardine run with you, Steve, was another amazing thing to see, especially when we saw all those sharks. I mean, the number of sharks we saw with the sardines, the sardine netters, the birds, the whales, the dolphins, all that activity happening, and at the same time dodging the odd drone that's like out there kind of thing, made for really exciting times. But just about every flight I did was an adventure and had kind of its kind of standout moments. So those were just a few that I could pick out.
Fantastic. Thanks, Will. We need to wrap it up.
Yep.
And I've got 3 questions in closing. If you had a message for our fellow aviators, our Bateleur members, regarding the work that we do, what might that be?
Yeah. My message would be just huge gratitude for the BATS pilots who kind of make their time and their aircraft available to do these kind of conservation missions. They are invaluable, and without this sort of support, we wouldn't be able to do this kind of research and do the things that we've been able to do with the assistance of the Bateleurs. So yeah, it's a big thanks and thumbs up from my side for your support.
Well, thanks for that encouragement. And I think you might have answered the next question before I even ask it, and that is if you similarly had a message for your fellow conservators and research scientists regarding the Bateleurs and what we do, would you be encouraging of them?
Absolutely, because this is a resource that I think not enough people know about and utilize. And there are so many aspects of the research that we're doing nowadays that can benefit from an eye in the sky and an aerial approach. So yeah, my message to the people out there would be, utilize this resource and this opportunity to strengthen the kind of work that we do in conservation.
Thanks. And then very lastly, we are of course reliant in the Bateleurs on our funding from generous benefactors and philanthropists who support us. If you had a word of encouragement for them?
I would say put some money into this organization. This is a really, really great idea, and I think utilizing aircraft and skilled pilots at achieving benefits for conservation is sort of one of the best things that you could do. So if they wanted to support something in the field of conservation, I would tell them to put their money into the Bateleurs, because that's a great organization and a well worth one supporting.
Well, thank you again. That's huge encouragement.
Yeah.
Dr. Bruce Mann, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
It's a brief but meaningful interview. Much appreciated.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
There we go.